Hello there, I'm Laquesta Burak and welcome to Focus on Africa. Coming up, 17 years of the Kabila leadership is set to come to an end. The DRC president confirms he will not stand for re-election later this year. A short time ago, he revealed who will succeed him.
It
is Comrade Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari, permanent secretary of the PPRD.
Du PPRD.
And it's changed too in the Ivory Coast. The controversial former First Lady Simone Gbagbo walks free from prison under a presidential amnesty to the outrage of human rights groups. And new hopes for refugees. There are 10,000 more than there should be. They're taking new steps to self-dependence, but not everyone's happy. Also in the programme, it is Point Break. On the beaches of Liberia, we meet the youngsters being given the deal of a lifetime. Make it to the classroom and we'll show you how to conquer the waves.
It's not only surfing, but you need to advance yourself in education. That's how we go around encouraging the kids, making them know that surfing can get them to another level.
And shock in the world of athletics as former 400 metres hurdles world champion Nicholas Bett dies in a tragic accident in his home country of Kenya. Hello there, thank you for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. Well, the governing party in the Democratic Republic of Congo has revealed who they want to be president, or rather their presidential candidate, after Joseph Kabila steps down. His name is Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari. Now, he's born the same year as his country became independent. Mr. Shadari has been a vice president and interior minister in Joseph Kabila's government, and one of the key people behind a campaign to keep Mr. Kabila in power beyond his final term, which actually expired in 2016. Well, after months of pressure, elections have been scheduled for 4 months' time. But are the Congolese people confident that they are now set for change? Well, the BBC's Anne Soy reports from the capital, Kinshasa.
Mass at dawn. This is how thousands of Congolese begin the day, drawing strength from here. Not just spiritual, political too. The Catholic Church has been an unwavering voice in the DRC, sometimes at a big price. Justin Motombo shows me bullet holes left on the walls of the church in February when they held protests against a president who's overstayed in office. Elections are now 4 months away, but that hasn't reassured him.
The first experience was not credible. Also the second one, I don't trust the third one.
Elections are meant to be held here in December of 2016, but twice they've been postponed. But even now, nearly 2 years later, you still get the sense that there's so much uncertainty. Moise Katumbi, one opinion poll puts him in the lead in popularity, but the government has blocked him from returning home. Jean-Pierre Bemba, convicted of war crimes, then freed on appeal. But the ruling coalition warns he is not eligible to run. Catholic Church leaders say they must be allowed to participate.
We have no other way. Elections on December the 23rd, or we are going to a chaos of the country.
The UN Security Council says there's no way the country can run the elections alone. They've directed the UN mission here, MONUSCO, to prepare logistical support and provided $80 million. But then the Electoral Commission says they're already working with MONUSCO.
But in reality, to protect sovereignty, the government has said it has enough money. The Electoral Commission plans to distribute election material using our own transport. The government can take charge of that. But if the government feels it can't do everything, we can still go back to MONUSCO to ask for their help.
The people here are hungry for change, and they're demanding for credible elections. Anne Soy, BBC News, Kinshasa.
Well, the choice of Kabila's replacement came as a surprise to many. We went out on the streets and we got these reactions from potential voters in Kinshasa.
Shadary was a surprise, a big surprise. We didn't expect it. There were lots of names that the people were talking about in the party, but in the end, the president surprised everybody.
This is the first time in DRC we've had such an event. The president respects the constitution. May God bless and protect us.
Okay, joining me now to talk through today's events and also to find out more about Emmanuel Shadary is the senior Africa analyst, Vincent Rouget, from the organisation Control Risks. Thank you for coming in. Your reaction to today's news, first off?
Well, I think as one of the interviewers said, this wasn't necessarily a name that most people expected. As far as you know, circulated on social media or on the media, but that is often the case on Congo. Finding a successor for Kabila was always going to be a difficult task, given how fragmented the ruling coalition is. And I think there's two things we can read with this nomination and the choice of Shadary. One is that he probably will not pose a major threat to Kabila and his interest after he leaves power. This is someone who has always supported and very loyal to Kabila.
It's already been dubbed the Medvedev. You get what I'm saying when I say that.
There are parallels to be drawn, indeed.
Is he really stepping down, or is he taking a break before his fourth term?
So, what this announcement, I think, is a strong indication that, at least for the moment, he's stepping down. I would only say, for the moment, actually, there hasn't been any formal confirmation and final confirmation that Kabila will not be on the ballot. In fact, the Electoral Commission has given a window of a few additional days until the 13th of August, where potentially, and I say potentially, Kabila could still find his name on the ballot. That is fairly unlikely, but assuming he indeed steps down, I mean, clearly Shadary is a case for continuity, to protect Kabila's interests, but also a major sign of defiance towards the international community. This is someone who is under international sanctions from the European Union and who clearly will not be very welcome from the European Union, among others, but also human rights community.
You know what, we know the phrase, it's the economy stupid, okay? And we know that the DRC is an extremely wealthy country. For outside investors, and they're looking into the DRC, they're looking at the instability, would this move be enough for them to take that risk to say, OK, you know, let's enter the country?
I think there's still a long way to go. The election is, as you said, 4 months from now. There's a lot of unknowns until that time, and there's a lot of concerns as well around the way the poll is going to be organized, who is going to be allowed to contest on the opposition side. So I think at this stage it is a little bit too premature to call this a decisive step to remaking Congo attractive again. The choice of the nominee also will raise some concern that this is not really a change. It is, if indeed Mr. Kabila does step down, it is a positive move and it will diffuse some of the tensions, but I don't think we can call that a game changer for international investment into Congo yet.
OK. Vincent Rouget, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching Focus on Africa. Let's remind you of some other stories that could be making the headlines across the continent and the world. Hundreds of mostly African farm labourers have marched from fields in southern Italy, chanting, "We are not slaves, no to exploitation," in a protest against the working conditions of tomato pickers. It's after 16 labourers died in 2 road accidents within 48 hours close to the city of Foggia. Well, Zambia says it's denied an asylum request by the Zimbabwean opposition politician Tendai Biti. He's currently in custody until he's returned to Zimbabwe, as Zimbabwe's police have accused Mr. Biti of inciting violence following last month's election. The sole winner of South Africa's biggest ever lottery prize says he kept his lucky ticket in his sock. The 34-year-old man, who preferred to remain anonymous, told local reporters that he only wants to let his parents know, not his wife, not his in-laws, nobody but his parents, about his windfall. The £10.8 million prize is tax-free. Now, after 7 years in prison, the former First Lady of the Ivory Coast, Simone Gbagbo, has walked free. Mrs. Gbagbo is one of some 800 other political prisoners who've been given a presidential pardon by President Alassane Ouattara. Now, she was given a 20-year sentence for her role in the violence that followed the elections back in 2010. That left 3,000 people dead. Human rights groups have condemned the amnesty, saying that there should be no pardon for those responsible for war crimes and other serious human rights violations. Well, Jim Wormington is a West Africa researcher for Human Rights Watch.
First thing that's really important to say is that the 800 people that were amnestied, many of those people were either very low-level sort of foot soldiers in the 2010-2011 crisis who were arrested because they fought on the pro-Gbagbo side of the conflict, and who aren't necessarily implicated in the kinds of killings and rape that Human Rights Watch and other groups documented during the 2010 and 2011 violence, and are the kind of crimes that we really feel like shouldn't be the subject of amnesty. So when we talk about why we're concerned about the people who might have been amnestied, and that would include Simone Gbagbo, for whom there are credible allegations that they were implicated in those atrocities, those killings and rapes that happened during the post-election crisis. And so our position is that while President Ouattara absolutely has the right, in the name of national reconciliation, to release many of these people in order to further reconciliation as we move towards the 2020 elections, what he absolutely shouldn't do, and what would be a real injustice for victims, is allow those people who were involved in the worst crimes of the conflict not to face a court to really explore what their role was in what was a really troubling period of Côte d'Ivoire's history.
So that was reaction there from Human Rights Watch. But what next for Simone Gbagbo? Well, joining me in the studio to talk about that is Lamine Gonkobo from BBC Afrique. You've covered the elections when this controversy... You were there. You've watched this story develop over the last some 48 hours. What do you think of it?
Well, it is the speed with which all of this unfolded. I mean, of course, even the lawyer for Mrs. Gbagbo knew that this was, fantastic news, but they were not expecting her to be released so fast. Within, let's say, less than 48 hours of the announcement, she is free. And of course, I think that the first order of business for Mrs. Gbagbo is really to try to, win back whatever political credit she had lost, because you would remember that she was very influential under, her husband, who is now standing trial at The Hague. And when both were locked away, the party that used to actually, the ruling party, FPI, was left without a leadership, a unifying leadership. And Mrs. Gbagbo out would first of all try to see what she can do to unite the FPI. Without that political tool, it is very difficult in Ivory Coast to really seek and get power.
Do you think she'd be allowed to do that? Or is she really having to follow the agenda here of Mr. Ouattara?
Let's say that the surprising thing is that she knows that Alassane is playing politics. And Alassane, of course, knows that she cannot trust her to come out and be like a changed politician. But she went ahead and pardoned her anyway. Of course, what will happen is that Simone Gbagbo she hasn't been really that fiery lady that people know her to be. She has been rather conciliatory since she left, saying that all is new, it is new beginning. But I think that the staunch members of the FPI, her party, are waiting for her to give them, let's say, the new agenda, lay the rule and lead them. And definitely we have to wait and see what she really do in the coming days.
Okay, and we will be watching. Lamine Gonkobo, thank you very much for your analysis. Thank you. Now, the world keeps swelling with refugees. Those numbers just keep going up and up after crisis after crisis. So many people displaced, millions in fact displaced. Take the example of Kenya's Kakuma refugee camp. Here, there are over 100,000 refugees staying here than it was actually designed for. Well, the good news is that the camp is now slowly being transformed into a settlement which allows people to have a more permanent residence there. Also, taking away that reliance on aid. Not everyone's happy, though. The BBC's Ferdinand Omondi has the report.
This is Kalobeyei Market in Kakuma. Here, refugees and the local Turkana community in northern Kenya mingle freely, buying and selling from one another. It's a new settlement concept that allows refugees to live, work and trade outside camps, which was previously restricted. For Dama Mohammed, a Somali refugee, the chance to mingle with her hosts and be self-reliant is liberating.
This settlement has really helped us a lot, particularly in business and integration among host community and refugees. There is mutual understanding, job opportunities, and business is booming. The Somali community here want the integration to work well, and it seems to be successful.
The Kalobeyei settlement scheme measures 15 square kilometers and seeks to give refugees a more dignified life. But some of the locals are not happy with the new development. The integrated settlement program is also meant to help the host community, but some feel the benefits are skewed towards the refugees.
There are several benefits we should be getting. They agreed that if a refugee gets a house, so should a local get a similar house. But if you look at what they are building for us, it does not compare to theirs.
There is a saying which goes, when a visitor comes home, the host benefits. But when these visitors came, how come is the visitor enjoying while the host continues to suffer?
The United Nations acknowledges the complaints but is asking people to be patient as the project is only 2 years old.
We will not do all the humanitarian assistance to them. We want more the government officials to be present in here. We want refugees and the hosts, they run together their own markets, their own organizations. So this is a shift of mind. It's in whole UNHCR, it's changing it. So it will take some time also to, not only for hosts, for UNHCR people also to change.
The refugee settlement scheme is meant to break barriers and ease conflict, but finding the right balance for everybody may still take some time. Ferdinand Omondi, BBC, Kalobeyei, Kenya.
You're watching Focus on Africa, coming to you from BBC World News. Coming up, we've got the sport with Mimi and a second straight defeat for Ghana at the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in France. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. Time for the sport with Mimi. Mimi?
Thank you, Lucreza. Now we start with some sad news from Kenya, where 2015 400-meter hurdles world champion Nicholas Bett has died aged 28. The sprinter passed away in a road accident on Wednesday. Celestine Karane in Nairobi reports on how Bett will be remembered.
Kenyans received the news of Nicholas Bett's passing with shock and grief. Bett passed on in a tragic road accident this morning in Nandi County, west of the country, while traveling to his hometown. He will be remembered as the man who put Kenyan sprinting on the map after winning gold in the 2015 World Championships in the 400 meters hurdles. This was Kenya's first global title in the sprints.
I mean, much of the sprinters were shocked, and they said now, Nicholas has shown us the way. He proved we can do this. So I think Nicholas has left, I don't know. So painful.
Bett's love for hurdling was actually groomed by his father. Bett has a twin brother, Haron Koech, who actually competed against him just recently at the African Athletics Championships. And when they were kids, their father would put up sticks for them to jump over, and this built their love for hurdling.
Now, the president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, has been leading tributes for Nicholas Bett. He went on his social media page to say, "Deeply saddened by the death of former 400-meter hurdles world champion Nicholas Bett, who died today in a tragic road accident." Athletics Kenya tweeted, "Our condolences to his family and the entire athletics fraternity." Now moving on to football, Ghana have suffered a second straight defeat at the Women's Under-20 World Cup in France. They lost out 4-0 to the Netherlands in Vannes, where the match was played at. It comes after their loss to host France. Now, the long wait is almost over for football fans as the new season of the English Premier League kicks off this weekend. BBC Sport Africa program looks at the impact that African players have had in winning trophies in England.
From one appearance wonders such as Kevin Betsy of the Seychelles to the African with the most Premier League appearances, Kolo Toure of Ivory Coast, some 282 Africans have played in the Premier League. Far less than Europe, the UK and Ireland, but more than South America and far more than Asia. Some 29 African nations have been represented in total. Nigeria lead the way, then Senegal, Cameroon, Ivory Coast and Ghana as the best of the rest. But what impact do they make? In total, 15 different Africans have won the Premier League, Ivory Coast boasting more medals than anyone else. 4 of their 9 titles have been won by Didier Drogba alone. Nigeria, Cameroon and Ghana have also done well, while Algeria, Liberia and South Africa all boast 1 win apiece.
Some interesting facts there. Now, that's all the sport. Back to you, Luquesa.
Mimi, thank you very much indeed. Now, surfing enthusiasts have been very quiet about a gem. It's a hidden gem of a location. It's called Roberts Port in Liberia. As well as guaranteed perfect year-round surfing, there's a group of children there who aren't letting their backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds, hold them back from ripping the waves. Caroline Lawyer reports.
Let's go surfing. Welcome to a surfer's paradise in Africa. This is Roberts Port. Here, the Atlantic Ocean provides waves all year round, but it's still unknown to many. Princess has taken up surfing for the first time a year ago, and she's already the second best female surfer in Liberia.
I watch our boys doing it one more time. I watch them surfing. I don't want to look at them. I love the sport. I decided to join it.
But without any support, Princess would never have learned how to surf.
So whenever I get in the water, you hold your boat in this thing.
A few years ago, a group of surfers decided to give back to the community. They teach the children how to surf for free, but on one condition: they go to school.
As a surfer, you need to go surfing, you need to go to school. You know, it's not only surfing, but you need to advance yourself in education. That's how we go around encouraging the kids, making them know that surfing can get them to another level.
James has been catching waves since he was 6. And 3 years later, even if it's not always easy, he still loves it.
I'm the youngest ever for Liberia. We go every day after school, we change, we come, we start training. After training, we get in the water and go surf. It makes me feel fun.
The children use some surfboards left behind by tourists when they leave. There is not enough for everyone, so they share. And it's all about sharing.
It's to share my passion, my passion to other people, because for me, I won't remain as the way I am now today. I'm going to get old one day, and when I get old, I would like for other people to share with other people.
Fantastic. And if you'd like to see more on that report from Caroline Lawyer, go online and just search for BBC What's New. As far as the team goes for tonight from Focus on Africa, that is it. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.